What's up, everybody? Welcome to the PixelPlay Sidequest. We are getting closer and closer to the end of a generation, the last generation of gaming. Hey, that was an completely unintentional pun there. But yeah, we are on the last of the handhelds that we're going to do, the DS and the 3DS. We're going to bunch them together. Way harder to keep it to 6. There's definitely a lot more in this one than, say, the PSP and the Vita, at least in my opinion. But Chris, I'll let you get the start on here, but just all in all, which of the two did you find you kind of end up leaning towards in the end when you were making this list? Because I found that I realized really quickly, oh, wow, I think I cared way more about the 3DS library than the original DS library.
It actually ended up being a little bit more DS for me, oddly enough. But I'm pretty sure because when I was looking at a lot of the stuff I loved on 3DS, it's just available on like PC and stuff, like a lot of indie titles and stuff like that. I did obviously get a couple 3DS ones for sure, but I guess in the end I have it's really close. I think it's like one extra DS over the 3DS, but still. Yeah, it's except for some other things that I guess I'll bring up maybe a bit later.
We'll see. I mean, part of it is a little bit of bias on my side. Like, I don't think I ever owned an original DS. I know my girlfriend did, so I played most of it through that, but like I had a 3DS. I had that really special edition Persona Q one that almost looks like a blue grimoire book. It's such a beautiful DS.
That was really a beautiful one, yeah.
But yeah. So maybe there's a little bit of bias on that front.
Yeah, probably. I had a DS and a 3DS. I had the DS Lite, because the original DS was ugly as shit. And the 3DS, I had a launch one. I was actually like a launch person.
You, a Nintendo launch person, inconceivable. Never has happened before.
Weird, right? Yeah, never, not once. But ended up with the 3DS XL. I did go with the bigger one. That when I was like, oh, I'm thinking gaming handhelds are not as small as they used to be, and they don't really fit in pockets as much. Little did I know where handhelds were going, and I'd take a 3DS XL any day now with the size.
Well, you also have to remember too, as you get older, your hands are also still growing too.
Mm-hmm.
Holding a Game Boy Advance S or Game Boy SP doesn't exactly is not exactly the most comfortable thing in the world these days. If you're a grown adult.
Yeah, I could never do it.
If you have tiny little baby hands, well, you're in heaven at that point. But
yeah, maybe. Unfortunately, I did not have that. But yeah, you wanted me to start this off, so I guess I'll just hop right in there. I'm gonna go with a series I've actually brought up in a few of our different console listings for these remakes. First one I'm going with is Dragon Quest IX.
I had a feeling that's where you're going. Yeah, that was actually one of my favorites.
Yeah, and like it's because I've played it a bit. My friend had it. I didn't. I've always wanted to play it more. I remember playing it and being like, "This is great." At the time, I was still playing through Dragon Quest VIII on my PS2 through backwards compatibility. At that point on my PS3, but the thing is that this hasn't been released on anything else. This is, as far as I can tell, and I looked it up. I tried to find it just to make sure. I could not find this on any other system. No remaster, no re-release, no port, no anything. At least in North America that came up. And I would love to get into this, but obviously with it not being locked to two screens and locked to a DS and all of that kind of stuff. Like, I think that with the art style of this one, they could clean it up real nice. Obviously, as we know, the art style of Dragon Quest games holds up to today because 11 looks like the same thing, just with like a more modern, high quality, view to it. But I really think they could clean this up, bring it to modern consoles, bring it to PC, bring it to everything. It would still be a perfect handheld, so I'd hope they'd still let it be, not weak enough, but like low spec enough that it could run on a Steam Deck, on a Switch too.
Like my expectation for a game like this is you wouldn't go that crazy with it. It would just be good enough that it's playing in 1080p or 1440 or whatever, but it's more just a light touching up of it. Still retains sort of that like old school 3D handheld sort of vibe to it, but more like it's designed for like a Switch in mind rather than being like massively overhauled. Although I can't imagine I almost said Dragon Age, Jesus Christ. Dragon Quest being designed as, this graphical pusher. Like, I don't think that would ever. If there's ever a Dragon Quest game that does that, I think that's when we have to go, oh god, Square's really starting to mess with things now. They really can't help themselves and go massive on the graphics budget.
Yeah, oh, 100%. Yeah, and I think this would scale very nicely. Obviously, higher resolution textures up, up-res them a bit and stuff too. But
Would you
yeah, like just
cartoonalize it a little bit more to make it seem more like what Dragon Quest is, or would you kind of keep this sort of 3D-ish vibe to it?
I would tone down the 3D-ish a bit, or it's hard to tell. Like if it had the same look as a somewhere between Dragon Quest 8 and Dragon Quest 11, I'd still be quite happy with it. Obviously because it's Dragon Quest, but I'd be even happier if they went even further back with it, and gave it more of a Dragon Quest 1 to 5 kind of look. Not like the original release. I'm talking more like some of their remasters and stuff that they've received. But honestly, it's Dragon Quest, and it's a mainline single player Dragon Quest that isn't 10, which was like an MMO or whatever they were trying with that. I would take any release of this, to be honest. I would be happy with almost anything they did, as long as it keeps that similar charm. If they went way too realistic or anything like you're saying, I think that would ruin it. They've got to keep it what it was. And just bring it to a modern single screen, obviously, experience. That's what I would want.
Yeah, it's one of those that I don't think, like, obviously we want a remake because we want it to be up-res, we want it to be running at better frame rate, we want it to be reported to a modern console because it's not easy to find anymore. But I don't think you really need to do nearly as much to this one as, say, like other games potentially could be in this. So.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, absolutely.
So I'll start with my first one. I think I even mentioned this at some point with one of these other videos that this is going to come up eventually. Fire Emblem Awakening is, to this day, still my favorite 3DS game. It's not even close. In fact, it's far and away the best Fire Emblem game I've ever played. A lot of them I tend to have a lot of trouble getting into for long periods. This one never had such an issue. The only other ones that fell into that category were the original, which is Blazing Dragon, if we were talking on Game Boy Advance, and then the Sacred Stones. Those ones were fine, but like I've tried a bunch of them: Path of Radiance, Three Houses, Fates, Birthright, even the new one, Engage. They don't last for very long periods of time before I go, I don't need to play this gameplay loop anymore. Even the indie games, Dark Deity, tried that. It still doesn't stick long enough for me to complete it. Whereas this one, and I think it might just be because I think this to me is where the character designs really were my favorite. I think out of all of them, like, I really think that they had the best overall character designs, where they weren't too over the top, but they also weren't too boring. Because, like, obviously with Engage now, they've gone way too far over the deep end with Pepsi hair over there in the main character.
Yeah, the VTuber.
Yeah, exactly. So, like, and I felt like this one was, like, the best version of itself in being that it's still grounded to an extent, but it does a little bit more with it than the average game used to. So it finds a good middle ground on everything. Like, the character designs are right in that good middle ground of there's a little bit of unique stuff to it, and then there's a little bit of, they're not going too far off the deep end. Story's not too crazy in that front either. Voice acting is actually pretty decent in this, all things considered. The gameplay isn't really trying to do anything crazy with it. It's just pretty straightforward, just a little bit here and there to add to it. But, like, I think it's really the best version of what Fire Emblem is. I wish any Fire Emblem game would be made with this in mind, because I feel like it's not trying to go too far and it's not trying to be too boring at the same time, or too samey.
Yeah, this was a fantastic Fire Emblem game. I had this on my list as well. It's just such a good one.
Also, the idea that you can very easily grind in this one, I really appreciate too.
Yeah, that's true.
Is it also the first one that finally gave the easy mode option where you don't lose everybody, that they just come back after the next fight?
That's a good question.
I think this might have been the first one where they did that, unless one of the GameCube ones maybe tried it, but I don't think they did, because I know the Game Boy Advance ones did. Like, it was if they died, they died.
Yeah. Yeah, I liked that. That's a huge change. I only play with that mode. Like, I don't want characters to, like, permanently die if they die in any of these fights. So
yeah, it's like, look, if I really want to go and do shit like that, I'll play XCOM, okay?
Yeah.
Which, by the way, if we ever did a PC episode, because Lord knows we'd never be able to because there's just too many years, XCOM would be on that list. I don't even know they got one a remake. I just want an XCOM 3 at this point, but,
Oh, 100%.
But we're not talking about PC games. We're on DS games. So, yeah, there's my number one. So what else you got there?
Well, this one I'm going to put in there because yesterday was Sonic's anniversary. It's like 34 years. It's not a big one. I think next year will be the big one. But there was a DS game.
Is it Rush, or is it going to be the JRPG one?
It's definitely the Rush one, but it's Rush Adventure. Yeah, because I think Rush was there was Sonic Advance, I think was the ones on there. But yeah, they had
Mhm.
Sonic Rush Adventure. I don't know, Sonic Rush was like a game itself, and then they came up with Sonic Rush Adventure. And Sonic Rush Adventure was the one that I had played. It was like a really good platformer on I'm pretty sure it was DS. I'm hoping I don't have this mixed up that it's the
Mhm.
3DS. But it was a really cool platformer. It was a lot of fun. Again, it's one of those ones where they actually made a decent 2D Sonic, and like there's no way to play it today. There's nowhere to find it. It's not in any of the numerous Sonic collections that come out. They've always got the Genesis games and that kind of stuff. Um, but yeah, this one just like wasn't there. It was so fast, as anybody watching, obviously paying attention to the video right now, will see. It was just like nonsense. As soon as you knew what to do and like where to go in a level, you could speed run it like crazy, because the boost was like just this unlimited thing as long as you were like doing it right. And it was just so much fun. And yeah, I just miss this like crazy 2D version of Sonic. Even new 2D Sonics, while they're still good, I do find besides Mania, like they don't have the speed, they don't have the craziness that the platformer versions of Sonic had. Where in this one, even though yeah, it wasn't like the best platformer, it's not as well known as say Sonic's 1 to 3 or something on Genesis. It was this incredibly fun, portable version of Sonic that it was just so much fun. I loved that it had the 3D look, and then it finally just went into the 2D. So it just kind of gave you of like a hey, you're playing Sonic Adventure. Just kidding. And then all of a sudden, it just like went into the normal Sonic Rush or slash Sonic Advance slash all the other Sonic portables that were at the time. And yeah, it was a lot of fun.
It's crazy
I
watching
just
this footage here because I'm imagining this has to be a speedrunner that I found footage from. And
yes.
this doesn't even look like a game anymore. It looks like some like terribly put together Flash game because it can't keep up with the movements.
Yeah, no, it definitely, if you got too fast, like Sonic games have always had that where it's like the screen can't really keep up. But this one, because of how fast you truly can go with the unlimited boost, um, it just got wild if you wanted it to be. Now you had to know where you were going, or else you just boosted
Yeah.
into an enemy, boosted into a wall, and you were like, wait, where am I?
Yeah, it's like
And
if
that
either
was
of
not
us are
as fun.
trying to run through this game, we're just crashing into everything at this point.
Yeah, I never went that fast. I went fast. I never went that fast. But yeah, I just loved playing this in bed and just like loving, a Sonic game that had like cutscenes, but it's still just 2D and all that kind of stuff, right? So
Hmm.
great Sonic game. I just wish that it would be brought back, even just in a collection. But again, it's the DS and 3DS because of the whole two screen thing, and there's not going to be a modern day console that kind of has that. I think it kind of needs the remake, or in the sense that it's got to go to one screen. Even if it keeps the aesthetic and just kind of ups res and stuff like that, it's still got to go to one screen or it would just never work. You don't want to play with like a Switch or a Steam Deck or a TV that has the two screens right next to each other, right? So,
Yeah.
yeah.
So my number two is one that the second that I saw footage of this game, I went, how the fuck did I not know this game existed? And apparently got re-released on 3DS, and I still missed it then. Radiant Historia, which is an Atlas JRPG. I don't know how the fuck I didn't know it existed.
I have that on my list too.
Because it
And
is
I've never actually played
gorgeous.
it. It's gorgeous. I agree. I've never played this one. Somehow it slipped through the cracks for me too, and I threw it on the list as soon as I watched some footage of it today. You and me definitely had the exact same the
It
situation with
it's
this game.
it's the one beauty of us doing these videos is that we've realized, oh, I know there's a few like of my favorites that I want to come back. No, actually I changed my mind. Bring this back because I don't know what the fuck that is and I want to play it.
Yeah. It looks really good. It looks like a real just JRPG, like and it's Atlas, which means it's gonna be good. It's gonna have the quality.
Yeah, and not only that, but like obviously as someone who just played like a Unicorn Overlord, I know it's not the same developer, it's not Vanillaware, but like even just the sprite art just goes like that's the kind of attention to detail for a fucking DS game that I'm like that's what I want, man. Like
Yeah.
I know everybody's really into realistic graphics and everything. There's just a part of me that thinks there's something so perfectly timeless and artistic about perfectly well put together pixel art.
100%. Absolutely. It's a reason that you get Sea of Stars and Chained Echoes and
Yeah.
Stardew Valley and stuff that's not even RPG related at all.
Well, I mean, we
The
even look
pixel
at
art.
obviously games that are kind of like if you've listened to the podcast from Wednesday, you've already probably heard us mention this game, but Mina the Hollower, the new game from the Shovel Knight developers,
Yep.
where like it's insane that it looks so much like a Game Boy game. It looks like Link's Awakening, but it looks even more insanely beautiful.
Yeah. Yeah. Pixel art to me is always going to be one of my favorite art styles in games. Like, I don't think it'll ever get matched, honestly. And it's a bit of nostalgia, but it's also just, I think that there is a beauty to it. It truly is like games as art, I think with that art style.
Yeah, for sure. But yeah, like I can't obviously say much about Radio Story. The gameplay just kind of speaks for itself. You can tell exactly why I want to play this game. Like it's a JRPG,
Yeah.
gorgeous graphics. It's made by Atlas. Like you've listened to enough of these episodes to go, yeah, I think we know how this idiot thinks. So
Yeah, I would. Yeah, I saw this. I needed it too. I saw it on a list of top DS games, and I was like, wait, what is that? And then I went on YouTube, and I fell into like a 20-30 minute hole of just
I mean, you
watching
also look
gameplay.
at cover images like a lot of those games have, and you're like, there's a coin flip between this either being okay or at least passable or
Yeah.
absolute dog shit, especially in like the era from like PS2 and PS3, like those years. Any really good cover is a coin toss on whether or not it's trap. They
That's true.
those album or not album, those game cover arts were like mimic chess. You just didn't know.
Yeah. All right. Well, hopping into before I hop into my last one, actually, it's funny you stole all my extras that I had so far. So like that sucks. There's only one thing that you didn't cover, and it's not even a game, but I'm gonna still shout it out anyways. With the DS and the 3DS, I think one of the things I missed the most was all of the kooky little things that Nintendo had in those consoles as extras. When you think about like the Notes app, the Street Pass app on the 3DS, where you would earn puzzles and be able to play this like little JRPG with people you met by walking past them. Like there was a real community around the DS and 3DS, I felt. Where if you ran into somebody in the wild, in the real world, and you both had the console, it was actually like meaningful to do that, especially with the 3DS. Now, the DS obviously was like new and the tech may not have been fully there, but that when you opened up that console, it still had like I think like a notes app and some other stuff too. Like it was really cool. Some of the features it had, I think a calendar and like simple stuff for the time. But I loved that Nintendo used to actually try and make it more than just a game system. It was something you took with you, and you were like a part of a community. And
Yeah.
obviously, you can still game on the Switch with other people. You can game share, trade games through virtual game cards, but Street Pass and like all of these other cool things. Like they got us out of our houses into the park or wherever people went, or conventions were huge.
You can tell that it was definitely made with the Japanese audience in mind too. Like you said, even just all the little apps in there, because it almost became like their phone, essentially.
Yeah.
It was their they're almost like their Palm Pilot, if we really want to date ourselves. Of just,
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
the
Like a
thing you
Palm
take with
Pilot.
you, you play your games on it, but you also, if you need to take notes in there. And obviously, too, like with traveling all the time, like especially a lot of Japanese folk do because of work, there's such an opportunity to be constantly exchanging information with various players through the Street Pass.
Yeah, absolutely. And like both systems had a stylus and stuff, and you'd actually use it for like certain apps. The 3DS had like AR camera that you could take 3D photos with it,
Mhm.
which was like pretty cool. And you could take and actually like have it where your me character was standing. I remember having one like standing and trying to push my coffee cup, like using AR pictures and stuff.
Mhm.
There's so much little stuff that you could even do. Even the 3DS, if it encouraged you to walk with it because you earned coins for taking steps. It encouraged you to hit 10,000 steps a day. I carried my 3DS with me everywhere I'd go to, in where I live, there'd be like a music festival or something or a rib fest. And I would always throw my 3DS into my pocket because you'd get those steps, you'd get street pass, excuse me, things. when you would pass people, you'd pull your switch out, your 3DS out, and there was a little light there. When it was flashing green, that meant you would pass by somebody who also had a 3DS, and you would street pass them or whatever the heck it was. And it was just such a cool thing. And you're collecting puzzle pieces and all like there was just so much to do outside of gaming with it, which was all based around gaming community. And I that's what I really wanted to shout out, because that's the one thing with Nintendo I really miss. Just that, like, hey, go out there and run into random Nintendo gamers and exchange stuff, because it would just happen. But for my last game, speaking of the 3DS, I'm gonna have to go with the Legend of Zelda: Link Between Worlds.
That was actually my three. Yeah.
Yeah, because that one was such an incredible Legend of Zelda game. It brought back that like top-down 2D Zelda that to me hadn't hit in a long time. As a huge Zelda fan, I've got a Triforce tattoo on my arm and everything. I honestly like Spirit Tracks and Phantom Hour. What was the other one? I don't know. All the things with the train.
Was it Phantom Hourglass?
Oh, Phantom Hourglass, Spirit
Tracks. Because I think Minish Cap was Game Boy Advance, so I think it was just those two, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, those ones really lost me. Like at that point, I was like, I get it. They had like mainstream Link in like the console games, and then Toon Link from Wind Waker kind of went off and became the portable Link. But I don't know. I just couldn't get into the vibe of those games. It's like a train, and you got to draw with the stylus the train to do stuff, like, which is fine. I get it. They were trying new things. It's always nice when not just Nintendo, but anybody does that. Developers really don't enough anymore, honestly. But this brought back the vibes of like Link's Awakening. It really brought it back, and it was perfect because it was like, hey, this would work great in a handheld space because it's like more of a throwback to 2D Zelda games. Let's do that. And we'll be able to like bring back those vibes, but with a modern-ish look. Like it looks like
if you're getting really sick and tired of like the current 3D landscape that was happening on in that era with, obviously like Twilight Princess, Skyward Sword and such, like this is that reminder of like, hey, no, we still think about you guys once in a while.
Yeah, exactly. And it had such a cool mechanic with like turning into the painting and going into the wall. And I know it was Nintendo once again using a Link to the Past world. Like it's again, the same Link has now been in like 3 games. You got Link to the Past, Link's Awakening, and now A Link Between Worlds. But the thing is that sure, they're going for the nostalgia, but they were able to recreate the map and actually recreate that feeling of the Zelda timeline perfectly. And it's one that people love a lot. I think this could be remade perfectly with the Switch too. They could use the same team that did the Link's Awakening and Zelda Echoes of Wisdom team. Just use that engine, right? Maybe change it up a little bit so it looks a little bit more like this Link specifically. I know it kind of did, and it was kind of like the chibi Link, but they could change it. They could leave it exactly the same as Link's Awakening, to be honest. They could remake this and it would fit right in with the Switch. It would also help because a lot of the other Zelda games have been remade or at least been brought back to modern consoles. And this one is nowhere. Like if you don't have a 3DS, you can't really play this right now, which is a huge shame because it was so much fun and the puzzles were so exciting because it's like you'd be stuck and then you'd be like, wait a minute, is that a really small hole in the wall? And then you would just turn into like a flat painting and just move through this crack in the wall and you're in a whole new area and it's like, whoa, this is really cool puzzles, like the different dungeons and stuff. Like I just loved this one and I need to play it. And again, DS and 3DS are probably the hardest consoles to get back into because it's got the dual screen. So you got to remake the game. You can't just port it to new systems like at least some other games could that we've seen.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
I need it.
It's also one that like I only played a little bit here and there on. The reason being that I was far out of handheld gaming at that point. My girlfriend was really into it though, so whenever she needed help getting through certain parts of a dungeon, she's like, "Here, hand it to me." And as we've learned, we obviously had a game night on a Tuesday on the weekend where I basically just walked in. I don't play Mario Kart that often, but I can do well with that. We hadn't played GoldenEye in friggin' forever. Walked in, no problem with that. So like it's just one of those things that I don't know what it is. I just adapt really well to things when I haven't touched it before. So like she would just hand me like I can't figure out this dungeon, and I just like spend like 5 minutes kind of dicking around trying to figure everything out, and then all of a sudden be like, oh, that's peculiar, and then look at that, I'm like, oh, there's a switch, and she's like, how did you find that? I'm like, I don't know.
Gamer brain. Yeah, you are surprisingly really good still at GoldenEye and Mario Kart. It's alarming.
Well, I mean, I got to be useful in some sort of aspect, so. Well, you took away my main 3, so, now I have to dig into my backups. The other one that I will not be bringing up on the main list was Kid Icarus Uprising, just because, like, I think I don't even know if I necessarily want that one to come back. I think I'd just like to see Kid Icarus make a comeback in general. But the series that I like to say redone and also continue again, I'm really annoyed that they haven't really done anything with them again. Is Trauma Center Under the Knife 1 and 2.
Oh yeah,
the Trauma Center games were so fucking neat to me.
Yeah, they really were. They were such a different.
And you want to talk about a game
gaming
that was perfect for a stylus?
Oh yeah, this was without the stylus, if they remake this, it has to come with a stylus.
Well, they have no. Actually, that's not true. They don't have a reason to have an excuse not to now, because now that the Switch has its little mouse thing, there you go.
Oh yeah, they've got the mouse. Yeah,
you now have an easy way to do it.
Yeah, this game was so interesting. I remember thinking at the time, like, wow, Nintendo consoles are going wild. They're
They were like, oh, come on, a surgery game's not going to be that much fun, is it? And then you play and you're like, huh.
Oh, it's a lot of fun. Yeah, it's crazy how much fun that was.
Now, we're not going to ask why, for no reason, after you sew up a bunch of like cuts, all of a sudden several just reopen like they're fucking portals opening up. But,
Because it's trauma.
No, it's because it's anime. That's why.
Yeah.
Yeah, no. I remember liking them a lot. Even I think what was the one on the Wii? I'm trying to think of the name of that one, but like there was even that one there too where I kind of liked it as well.
Oh, I can't remember the name, but it was very similar.
I'll have to go look that up for a second here.
There may have been a Trauma Center.
Wii.
Yeah, I think
Second
it was the
Opinion,
same.
That's right.
The Second Opinion. That's it. Oh yeah.
When's the last one that's come out in that series? Oh, it really.
I think it might.
It was 2010 with Trauma Team, which was also a Wii game. So it's been 15 years.
Yeah, they got to bring that back.
Oh, and it's
Hey,
I forgot that Atlas made that too. Jesus, I'm learning a lot all of a sudden.
Yeah, because you could even just use touch screens. Like all handhelds have a touchscreen mode. Now, obviously, once it's on TV, then it's like, what do you do? But like you said, Switch has that the mouse.
Now that you got the mouse option on the what did the
Joy-Con.
I thank you. I keep calling them Wiimotes because again, when you don't really play a Switch that much, you don't think about it.
Don't play Switch much, but still come in first in Mario Kart. I see how you play. I see how you're just lying.
I mean, look, it's not my fault that I'm just a goddamn wizard.
You are.
But yeah, that's gonna do it. That's the end of handhelds. No more handhelds for these videos, unless we decide to do these 10 years later and we can randomly be like, all right, so the original Switch. All right, what are we gonna do with that?
Mario Odyssey. It's been 20 years since it released.
Right? But yeah, that's going to do it, folks. You know the drill. Like and subscribe. We'd really appreciate it if you do that. Obviously, you got the link tree there at the bottom of your screen. Mainly the link to the Discord. Social media is just not our thing. We've established this.
We've established it.
All right, folks. Well, we will see you on the next one. I'm trying to think. What do we got left? So we got PS3, we got Xbox 360, and we got, I guess, the original Wii. So yeah, we'll be doing Wii next week. So Wii Sports, Wii Sports Resort, and Wii. No, it won't be Wii Music. That's for sure. That piece of shit. God damn.
Nintendo really dropped the ball by not making a game called Wii, so it's like Wii.
I mean, somebody might have done that as a joke. Either way, not important. We'll find out when we actually do that list next week. So take care wherever you may be. Bye-bye for now.